After another impressive showing at March Madness, should Toronto's Zach Edey be a draft target for the Raptors as Gradey Dick finishes his freshman season strong? Hey everyone, welcome to Inside the Raptors. Rob Wong joined alongside by Ryan Wolstat of the Toronto Sun. And Ryan, Toronto native and Purdue center Zach Edey was the talk of March Madness. Unfortunately, his Boilermakers were not able to win the national title, losing to UConn, but now his attention turns towards the NBA draft. There's chatter that he could be gaining steam up the draft boards, could be a pick near the back end of the lottery, but there's also other mock drafts that have him going in the back half of the first round, some even in the second round. The Raptors, of course, have that top six protected pick and a mid first round selection. They got some picks in the second round as well, so they've got their bases covered potentially here. But in your opinion, is Edey someone that the Raptors should have high on their draft board?
Well, it's really interesting. This draft is all over the place, as you said. It's not just Edey, who no one really knows where he's going to go. I mean, there's most of the players could go in a huge variety of ranges, and that's just because this is considered a pretty weak draft with no supernova Victor Wembanyama or like those really high level guys that are no doubt, or not even maybe even a tier below that. There isn't even a guy like that. So it's basically like C tier prospects this year. So it could go anywhere. And Edey is a guy who he stayed a long time at Purdue, kept getting better. So he has to get a lot of credit for that. Obviously, 2-time player of the year, the best NCAA career by a Canadian man ever. But in today's NBA, can a guy that size, 7'4", 300 pounds or thereabouts, this isn't pro wrestling. Can he move around enough to guard the rim, to guard the small players, to get out there, to guard the 3-point line? And that's gonna be the big question. But to me, to answer your question, I would consider him. I think it depends. Like you said, if they end up losing that top pick to San Antonio, then I think it's harder to justify taking him with their next pick, which should be around somewhere between 15 and like 22, depending on how the Pacers slot in. It's kind of all over the place, but most likely, let's just say it's around the 19th pick. It would be hard to take Edey there if you haven't had your earlier pick. If they've had their earlier pick and addressed I think there's bigger needs for the team. They could use a power forward who could really shoot the ball and rebound. They could use more guard depth. I think that's a bigger concern than center, because they do have Jakob Poeltl and Kelly Olynyk signed long term, so that's a really nice 1-2 pair. Obviously, they're not the youngest of players, so you're going to need a guy later on, which leads me back to Edey. So I wouldn't mind taking a chance on him. It just depends, if it makes sense at what point, like I said. But I think if you're around the 20th pick, you've already used that earlier pick on someone at a different position, then why not? This draft, like I said, there's no guarantees. Taking a 7'4" guy who is going to be a force in the paint, is going to rebound, which is a huge Raptors issue, is going to guard the rim. I say why not? Go for it. And he would sure sell a lot of jerseys as well.
And as you said, they already have a Toronto-born center in Kelly Olynyk, so maybe they need to reach another quota here and get a couple of guys up front with Edey in the mix as well. Meanwhile, last year's first-round pick, Gradey Dick, got off to a slow start. It was much publicized, but over the last couple of months here has started to look a lot like the guy I think the Raptors thought they were getting with that first-round pick. He's had some strong games here. How would you grade his rookie season overall?
There's no question it was tough early on, and I was trying to caution people. Everyone wants to jump to a conclusion that this guy's 19 when he jumped into the league, and I know he was great at Kansas last year, but it's really hard for a guy that young with so much of his body not yet developed. Like, he was very slight, and that's why they sent him to the weight room to bulk up. Like, I have to say, this is going to take time. He's not going to be an immediate sensation. Like, even though he can shoot the ball, there's a lot more to it. So I think early on it was a little scary, but I give him a lot of credit for the way he bounced back. He went to the G League, he hit the gym really hard, and he came back a completely different player. I think he shot 40% from three in January. I think 49% in February. In March, when they asked him to do a lot more, when everyone was out of the lineup, it was a little tougher because, like I said, he was asked to do a lot more, and it was a little too much for him. So you can't really fault him too much for that. But I think overall, I would give the guy like a solid B. Obviously, low marks for the start for not really being able to do anything, but really good marks for the way he came out in the second half and established himself. He showed me a lot. It's not just the shooting. He moves off the ball really well. He cuts really well. He finishes layups really well. And he takes charge. He's not afraid to step in. He's not afraid to try to put his body on the line. And I think not a lot of people knew that maybe Gradey Dick had that in his game coming out. As I said, he was just known as a shooter, but I think there's a lot more to him. And to Bobby Webster's credit, the GM, he said when they drafted him, like, this guy is way more than just a shooter, and he does a lot of things well, and we've already seen it, and he should only get better in the years to come. And I think with the 13th pick, that seems like a nice grab by the Raptors.
Yeah, the Raptors definitely feeling a lot better about that selection heading into year number 2. As always, you can leave your Raptors thoughts in the comments section below. For Ryan Wolstat, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.